What's up, dummy? So I was just on YouTube and I saw this video right here. It says 8 most disturbing things discovered in people's basements. Look at that. What the hell is that? Now, when I was a kid, I was always afraid of basements. I don't know why. It was just something about like a dark, creepy basement was always so creepy to me. So this is gonna scare the hell out of me. We're about to see some of the most disturbing basements ever. Get ready. Oh my god. 8 most disturbing things discovered in basements. What the hell is that, bro? It's a clown or something? Ah!
This first discovery happened to multiple students of Ohio State University back in September of 2013.
Okay.
The group of students only recently started leasing an off-campus house close to the school.
Okay.
And it was in this house where they would make a disturbing find in the basement.
Oh god.
Only a month after moving in, the students would start to notice small yet strange occurrences in the house.
Okay.
Things like cupboards, their oven, and even their microwave being left open.
Oh god.
The house
That's
was
a
3
ghost.
stories, with 5 students on the first floor and 10 others on the second and third.
Damn, 15?
So obviously it was difficult to keep track of everyone.
Damn.
But when they realized none of them were responsible, they decided to search the house. What they found was a locked door, which they had originally assumed was a utility closet that the landlord wanted to be kept locked. Though at no point in time was this confirmed, and after calling the landlord about it, they were informed this wasn't the case. The door should not have been locked for any reason.
Oh no.
The landlord would end up sending a maintenance worker to check it out, and after breaking down the door, a room that was clearly being lived in was revealed.
Huh?
The room had framed photos and school textbooks scattered around. The students would change all the locks that night and leave a note for whoever was living in the room saying to call them. The man would actually end up calling the number and later be removed from the household.
What?
It turns out the guy was a cousin to one of the house's previous residents, which is how he got a key in the first place. One of the students even recalled running into the man in the basement at one point earlier in the month and asking who he was, but only to be met with a very vague answer. Ultimately, the students would blame the leasing company of the home for the incident, as they were responsible for failing to change the locks from the year before.
So this was a house that a bunch of college kids lived in, and like every year new college kids come in, obviously, so then they get new people living in these houses. There was somebody from the last year who was living in there who kept living in the basement, but he just kept one door locked. And then a bunch more people moved in, but he stayed in the basement, never went out. I bet he went out at like 4 a.m. That's why the microwave doors were open and the cupboards were open, and nobody remembered that because this guy he was hiding in their house, living in their house without them knowing. He'd go upstairs, cook some food when nobody was awake. Oh my god, could you imagine somebody living in your house and you have no idea? Eating your food, using your toilet. Dude, I'd be so mad if somebody was using my toilet. That's disgusting.
In June of 2020, a man named Christopher Town would make a life-threatening discovery while helping his friend move furniture in his basement. Unknown to both of them at the time was the fact that the house itself was built over a well. And so at one point, when Christopher was making his way across the room, the floorboards just underneath him would snap, which caused him to fall the 25-foot drop to the bottom. Fortunately, there was water at the bottom to break his fall, though this meant Christopher would have to use the rocks on the wall to hold his head above the water while he waited for the local fire department to arrive.
There's a damn well under this guy's house? How do you build a house on a well? How does that happen, bro? Who built this house? They are mental.
And to make things worse, the water itself was at an extremely low temperature.
Yeah, probably.
Though, after only a few minutes, the fire department was able to successfully get Christopher out using a hauling system.
Imagine you're just in your living room, just walking around like just normal. You're going to the kitchen. Boom! You just fall into a 25-foot hole, and there's water at the bottom. That's like a water slide, dude. That's kind of sick.
Mike Carroll was a man who lived in a small house in Lake Grove, New York.
Okay,
which
New York.
was the same house he had grown up in. Mike was 57 at the time, and only a few months prior had purchased the house. Though, while he was in the basement, Mike would make a disturbing discovery. He would find a full set of human bones buried under some dirt.
Huh?
But what makes this find so disturbing is the fact that the bones match the DNA of his father. When Mike was only 8 months old, his father was said to have gone missing. And throughout his childhood, he would question his mother about this.
Wait, what?
But each time he was given a different story.
Wait, what? So this is the house that this guy grew up in. This guy grew up in this house. Then he moved out when he was like, 20. Then he moved back in. He bought the house. He moved back in and he found his dad's bones. But every time he would ask his mom what happened to dad, she'd say, "Oh, he's traveling." I think the mom killed him. Let's see what happens.
So, of course, this made Mike want to find out for himself what had really happened to his father, which is what gave him motivation to buy his childhood house in the first place. The newly found bones would obviously cause blame for the disappearance to be shifted onto his mother,
Yeah?
though she had unfortunately passed away 20 years prior.
Bro, she died, and now we'll never know if she killed... Oh my god, bruh.
So, there's no way of confirming if she was responsible or not, and therefore what really happened will forever be unknown.
What? They will never know what happened. Are they able to check the bones to see, like, how the person died? I don't know how all that works. I'm really, like, uneducated and dumb. But are they able to check the bones and see... I don't know. You know, the more I think about that, what the hell am I saying? How are they gonna, like, look at a bone and be like, oh yeah, he was murdered 42 years ago? How do you... I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
An appliance repairman was responding to a call from house owner Charles Price.
Okay.
Though, while the repairman was working in the basement, he would claim to have noticed something moving in a covered container in a back corner.
Huh?
Curious, the repairman would lift off the cover and be met by a 200-pound alligator. But before running, the repairman would capture multiple pictures for proof to show the police. It turns out the house owner had the alligator for more than 20 years and was supposedly using it to help him with the house's mouse infestation.
Hold on! So you're telling me this guy was just a worker who would go fix people's houses up or whatever. He went into the basement to go fix something, and he saw an alligator just swimming around in this guy's basement? The thing that's even weirder about this is the guy who owns the house said he uses it to kill the rats that run around his house. They sell mouse traps. They sell poison at the store for like $3. Why are you using a fully grown alligator? This has to be in China or something. There's no way that... what the hell?
He would illegally keep the creature in a cage in his basement and
In
claim
a
to occasionally
cage?
take him out into his backyard. Shortly after the repairman made the report, the alligator was confiscated by local animal control and later released into a
Good.
better environment.
My god, dude. This dude had an alligator in his... What is wrong with these people? And also, what's wrong with my eye? If you could, like, if you've noticed me itching my eye all day, I think I've got, like, leukemia or something,
And
dude.
by an account under the name
Fudge,
Daily
my eye
Dish.
itches.
In the post, the Redditor
The hell is
explains how a
this?
few years ago they shared
All
a
right,
house
I'm
with
locked
some
in.
friends, and in the first few months of living in the house, they hadn't spent much time in the basement. The
Bro,
basement was
okay, that's your first mistake. Somebody said they bought a house and they didn't really spend too much time in the basement for the first couple of months. That's your first mistake. How do you buy a house and not even check the basement? Oh my god, I almost threw up. If I were to buy a house, like let's just say I had billions of dollars and I was super rich, I could go buy houses, I would check the basement. That's like one of the first places you would check. You would check the living room. Okay, it's nice. You would check the kitchen. It's nice. You'd probably check the bathroom to see if there's any poop stains. And then you go to the basement. Why have you not checked the basement? Okay, I hope you find a cult down there or
half
something.
finished, with the other half being a sort of dirt crawl space that extended under the porch of the house. They went on to explain how one night they decided to explore it more thoroughly, and after grabbing a flashlight, they discovered a black canvas duffel bag in the very back of the dirt crawl space. Disturbingly, in the duffel bag were 2 black ski masks, a hunting knife, and a single black leather glove. The Redditor went on to explain how they decided to call the non-emergency police number and report the discovery, though the police weren't interested, and therefore the house owners decided to set fire to everything but the hunting knife. Whether that bag had any relation to any sort of criminal activity is still unknown to this day.
Damn, so they found 2 black bags in their basement that they never found before. It had ski masks, knives, and other things. So somebody was planning to like kill somebody, bro.
This next discovery comes from a guy who moved into a studio apartment in England.
Okay.
The guy claimed to have moved into the apartment without even viewing the place.
Bro, that is your first mistake. How are you moving places you've never seen before? Are you guys just that desperate to move? Like, do you hate your parents that much, dude? What the hell?
Arrival, he would discover something pretty disturbing.
Oh, man.
So here's the apartment I moved into last week.
Oh, God. We got a video
Pretty
of it.
small, pretty nice. Rent
Okay.
was pretty cheap, so I moved in without even viewing the place.
That's your first
And
problem,
then when
buddy.
I got here, I realized why the rent was so cheap.
Why?
The guy then goes on to give a tour of the apartment, and after a while, this sort of trapdoor on the floor can be seen.
Got a bathroom, pretty standard.
Wait, there's a trap
And then we
door?
look down here. What's this?
Oh, my God, bro. I don't mess with
That's
trap
definitely a
doors,
handle.
bro. Oh, my God.
So I figured, you know, a bit of underfloor storage.
Yeah, probably
Let's
some
lift this up.
storage, right?
That looks like it goes down pretty
Oh, my
deep.
God. That's deep as
Featured
hell.
directly under this guy's apartment is
No.
some sort of dungeon-looking basement.
Under an apartment, bro? Okay, this is kind of normal to be under a house, but under a small apartment, he said a studio apartment, which means it's so small. This being under a studio apartment is so creepy, bro. Does that mean this is under all the other apartments? Oh my god, and everybody can access it? He's going down.
We can see the corridor going off straight to the front. Interesting graffiti on the wall.
CCFC? What's that mean?
Down here, this place is strange.
What the hell?
It's like a brick seat or bed.
Yeah, it's like a bed
Compared to
right
the rest
there.
of the apartment, the area itself is pretty big, featuring many large rooms and corridors. What exactly this area was used for is unclear.
Dude, there's multiple rooms and hallways down there. What the hell?
Way back in 2002, a homeowner in Jefferson County, Wisconsin found out that the foundation of her house was deteriorating.
Okay.
And so in November, she would apply for a loan to repair the foundation.
Okay.
But around 2 weeks later, while away at work, she would get a call from the workers hired to do the repair, explaining how they came across a gruesome discovery. They explained that as they started to remove the soil from the foundation wall in her basement, they had unearthed the full skeletal remains of a body. The skeleton was determined to be that of a 50-year-old male. Most disturbingly though, is the fact that after further inspection, it was determined that the house had been built right on top of an ancient burial ground.
Oh my
It's
god.
estimated to be up to 170 years old.
Oh my god.
Experts believe that in all likelihood, hundreds more skeletons are within a close proximity to the one found.
Bro, what?
This discovery would ultimately put a stop to the house's renovation altogether.
This girl bought a house. Then the bottom of her house was messed up, the foundation. So she had somebody come fix it. And they found a dead person, bro. And then they realized this was built on top of a graveyard, a cemetery. How the hell do you build a house on a graveyard, dude? What is wrong with these people? Who are building these houses?
In January of 2010, Wally and Linda DeForest would move into their new home in Goshen, Indiana.
Okay,
No,
Indiana. Before we watch this, I know this is going to be insane because Indiana is one of the dumbest
A week
states
after
ever.
moving in, the couple would discover a live torpedo in their basement.
Huh?
Something they obviously weren't aware of beforehand. Both of them noted how old
A
the thing
missile?
looked, but still obviously active. There had been no drill holes to indicate it had been disarmed.
Bro!
The couple would end up calling the police, who would send out a bomb squad to extract the torpedo from the property's basement.
They found a damn missile in their basement! Why is there a missile in your basement?
And luckily, they were able to remove it without incident.
Imagine you get a new house, you go downstairs, and there's just a nuke in the basement. What the hell is wrong with Indiana?